And welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposals. I'm your host, Coach Donnie Hess here, back with, unfortunately, sadly, one of the bittersweet moments of the season. The AFLW season has come, it has gone, a premier has been crowned. We must discuss it. We have to talk all of the finals since the last time I was on to review the AFLW. Unfortunately, I was not able to review round 12. But we went to the finals. The finals have come. They have gone. We must talk about the road to crowning a premiership. And let's
Mm.
talk the season a little bit as a whole. And joining me today, a new face for a review, but not a new face to the podcast. Somebody I just talked to very recently, enjoyed my chat, thought, you want to know what? Let's get her on. We have Edon Abbott joining us again. Edon, it is great to have you on again. You get to review some AFLW. I cannot wait to have you hear your thoughts on this AFLW final season.
Well, I can't wait to be on here. So thank you for having me. Hash it
Awesome,
all out.
awesome, awesome. Cannot wait. I'm not going to waste too much time. As a whole, Eden, your thoughts on the finals, because unfortunately for me, we kind of set it off, Mike. My word for this finals was predictable.
And I think it's been the same with the whole season, really. The team that is best has won. And clearly, North Melbourne, there's no disguise around how good they are. I mean, 2 seasons undefeated, they're the best. So going throughout the whole season, you kind of just knew almost that it was a clear cut they were going to make it into the finals. They did, and we'll discuss it more. Have a bit of a challenge and a spanner in the works against Melbourne, but they were able to claw back. But very much true that the best teams did make it through, which is obviously you want the best teams fighting for it, but there is such a big discrepancy between the top of the table and the bottom.
Yep. There's still a little bit of equalization still to come out. I'm thinking the national draft will definitely start to have that happen a little bit. You're starting to see a lot more free agency moves. Again, whereas as we talk now, there's already starting to get a little bit of the silly season stuff. I know that there's already been a player for the Western Bulldogs that has already told her club she wants to move. We won't discuss where she wants to go. Kidding with myself on that one, but let's jump right into it. Let's break it down. We'll start off. Let's go all the way back to the first week of the finals, the qualifying and the elimination finals. I mean, as we said, North Melbourne, the train that is North Melbourne, continues to just motor on through this competition as they take down the Hawks easily and without any sweat, 42-3. I mean, let's just simply say it. The Roos are that good. The Roos are that good.
And exactly, it was from start to finish. They really piled it on. I mean, to keep the Hawks goalless throughout the whole game, only 3 points. Very disappointing. We've only seen it a few times, especially in the AFLW. And the Hawks were kind of that up and coming team. Maybe they should have competed with North a bit better, but as we saw in that final quarter, that's where they're so good, and the Rose where they can just really make it hurt. And what isn't going to be a shellacking all of a sudden turns out to be 40 points
Mhm.
from 20 points, what could have been.
Yeah, no, 100% with you. It's kind of like, and I hate comparing because I know it gets very tiresome because it's not the same, but Hawthorn has kind of become the Port Adelaide of the AFLW. They beat the teams they're supposed to. They get to the finals, but then they kind of get exposed a little bit for still not 100% being kind of there. Because this is another one of those. They get to a top four, but again, the competition not playing everybody, I think has kind of shown that the Hawks find a way to win games that they're supposed to. They sometimes win some games they're not supposed to, but when it comes to teams that are better than them, they're just not there. And again, there is nothing wrong with an expansion side that's only 3 seasons in, not having the troops, shall we say, to get past the North Melbourne that has been built for years. So let's just be honest there. But it is kind of very interesting to see. Again, this is another season where the Hawks, again, they run into a top four side and they get mown down. And it's like, okay, it still shows there is that gap between the best of the AFLW and then the up and coming. And again, I mean, no disrespect to Hawthorne on this one. They're still a very good side. It's just that North is just that much better this year. And that was pretty much true for almost everybody in the competition. So we'll move over to a little bit more of a competitive game, but still a game that was relatively predictable as Daisy Pierce's West Coast Eagles make their debut in the finals and Carleton absolutely trounces them at Icon Park, 60 to 19. This the Navy Blues, the Blues were absolutely in fuego in this game again. I love what Daisy has done. I'm glad that they made the finals. It was definitely a cherry on top to a season. Did it end the way they wanted to? Absolutely not. There's no way Ella Roberts and that young side should have went out as meekly as they did, unfortunately. But again, the Blues were really, really good. They played some really good footy going into the finals.
That's exactly right. I mean, I would have loved to see the Eagles compete a bit more. They do have a very good young side, and Daisy Pearce, with what she's doing at the club, you can tell she's come in and made an immediate impact in just like 2 seasons. Yeah, I was quite shocked. I thought if they could get it done, they kind of had everything to play for.
Mhm.
It They snuck into the finals. There was probably 3 teams on the cusp, and they were that team that just managed to hang on with their percentage. So I
Mhm.
thought maybe they would give it a bigger crack, but yeah, just Carlton are too good.
Yep, yep. No, it's and as we see later with how Carlton does in the finals, it wasn't much of a surprise. But again, I'm not saying the Eagles had a bad performance. I think they actually played pretty well. It was just that they ran into a Carlton team. A, they were at home, and B, they just started. They found their groove at just the right time, which was absolutely fantastic. Let's talk
Finals
about
is a very different
probably
field. Yeah.
exactly the ripper of the round, and that is the Brisbane Lions coming down to Icon Park and nipping Melbourne Demons 56-43. I mean, this is just what Starcevich does. Starcevich and his Lions do is that no matter what it is, they find a way to win games in finals. I mean, this is a team that constantly preliminary final or grand final appearances every season under Coach Starcevich.
The fact that some players have played 7 grand finals,
Mhm.
you can see in games like that where they can just really claw and hold on because, as we know, 9-2. So that scoring accuracy in
Mhm.
AFLW is very good. And that's probably the difference in how they did win because Melbourne was 6-7. So a bit wayward scoring wise, but they could actually penalise where it hurt most. And Melbourne, they probably were disappointed leaving because they had the chance to take that away from Brisbane, but that's probably where the experience, the composure in front of goals is what led them to such a good 13-point win.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the class of Brisbane, again, for everything that they've been through, for having a good team, getting rated by expansion, doing it again, getting rated by expansion again. So it's just, you gotta just tip your hat to this Brisbane Lions side because how Coach Starcevich does it every year, I don't know. I seriously don't know, but he just keeps finding ways to take the backups and the third level players that are behind some of these superstars that go off, and he makes them into absolute gems. I mean,
Yeah.
Isabel Dawes, I mean,
Oh,
love her to
sensation.
death. She is
Yeah.
one of my favorite Brisbane Lions players because she plays with everything. Like her petrol tank is absolutely empty every single game. Absolutely love her to death. She's so much fun to watch because she is the energy, the heart, and the soul of that Brisbane Lions side. And again, Melbourne did not play a bad game, as you said. The goal kicking, unfortunately, it kills even men's sides, but
Mm,
especially in the women's sides where sometimes scoring possessions are minimal. You cannot miss. And every time you miss, you only make it harder for yourself to catch up. So 100%
yes.
with you.
Yes.
And then the last one, last but not least, unfortunately, the Crows class at home at Norwood Oval, absolutely spanking the St. Kilda Saints 60 to 16, a 44-point win. Again, the Crows, magnificent. Another win in the finals. The Saints, great to be there, but unfortunately, probably tripped at that absolute worst possible time.
I think the Crows are quite lucky with that matchup. as well, because if you gave them someone else at that time, if they just happened to play Carlton or another team, I reckon they could have slipped at that point because they have been struggling a bit. I think, especially after that showdown loss, really probably morale wise, or that could have given them a bit of fire. I know they were playing a lot for Doc, so they
Mhm.
really wanted to send him out. So I think that is what really got them up in the finals in terms of their energy and everything. And yeah, they were, I feel like walking into it, you knew they were gonna beat St Kilda just in terms, but if they had a different matchup, I think it maybe could have been a different story.
No, I'm not gonna argue with you there. They've struggled a little bit more than years past. I think
Mhm.
there's still a little nostalgia for a lot of people in the AFLW that the Crows are this dominant side. And again, as I stated in a few of the podcasts, if you look at their roster, a lot of their triple premiership players are not there anymore. Many of them are gone. And
Yeah,
there's only I think four or five that are left
yeah,
from those premierships. So this is not the same Crow side. Is it still a very good Crow side? Absolutely. The South
mm,
Australian talent, how they've drafted, and the elite superstars at Ebony Marinoff and Ann Hatchard. I mean, you just can't get any better than those two.
mm,
But you can tell that this is not the same. This is not the same team. Injury kind of got them a little bit this year. Inconsistency, absolutely. When
yeah,
you lose games, you hadn't lost games like that in previous seasons. And it's going to be very interesting how the Crows move forward because Doc steps
it will
away.
be.
He's retired, and you're already starting to see silly season with Brooke Boylo already putting in a request to trade as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Crows handle this off season for sure,
Yeah.
especially as I transition to the semifinals as they head over to Icon Park and unfortunately fall short to the Melbourne Demons 60-49. This was a cracking game. Absolutely love this game. The Crows, again, they're really good. The D's were just the tiniest bit better, but this was a cracking game of football. Really enjoyed this one at Icon Park, and the D's had to be wiping their foreheads a little bit because there was a chance that they could have went out in straight sets as the second seed and as the two seed in this particular finals.
Oh, and you can never rule yourself out, especially with the Crows. We know they can get to that grand final and win. So I think they were, like we mentioned, playing for Doc. That was such a motivating factor. But then you also start realizing their players are starting to get a bit more older, and other people in the competition, it's more of an athletic, quicker game. So maybe the struggle in keeping up with that, especially looking into the next season, will be interesting to see how they go to the draft and what they're looking for. But yeah, like you said, it was a cracking game. Disappointing. I mean, I'm from Adelaide and barrack for the Crows and also Port AFLW too. I know that's like very controversial to, but honestly, when it's women's football, you kind of go for both teams because as a female, seeing the league progress is just the most amazing thing. And hopefully it continues to progress. And we'll talk about that later as we've been discussing off mic. But
Mhm.
yeah, it'll be telling next season. But yes, a cracking game.
No, in AFLW there's almost a third and fourth teams with some people, and I have absolutely no problem with it. I think it's actually fantastic that
Yeah.
so many people as I know I'm a Swan supporter, but there are so many players that I support. I know former Adelaide Crow Najma Allen was on the podcast. I barrack for her when I barrack for her on Hawthorn. I may not barrack for Hawthorn specifically, but I barrack for her. I barrack for players. I barrack for people because
Reminiscent players too, like
oh yeah. There's
yeah.
so many fantastic individuals in this league. Again, so many magnificent stories that I just love telling because these are incredible people. I mean, Chelsea Randall, what she's
Oh,
done,
I'm so glad she got to get back. Yeah.
I cannot not revel at that young woman. I cannot because she's an incredible individual, an incredible person but an amazing footballer. And she's just as good a person as she is a footballer. And I absolutely love that about that. What she's done, both for the club, but also for herself, is absolutely magnificent. I will never disrespect Chelsea Randall
I,
ever because I just can't because she's too good a person. to do that too. So absolutely, again, love this game to death again. The
Mm.
Crows just they trip at the wrong possible moment again. Sorry to see Doc go. Didn't want to see him go. I think he's been incredible for women's
Yeah.
football, but I'm fascinated to see what the Crows' future is. Who do they bring in? I'm very fascinated. This offseason will be really interesting what they
It's
do
exciting,
at the
isn't it?
Crows. Exactly.
It's going to be so exciting. And to
Yep.
even looking at Doc and his next step in the sandful, I'm excited to see how he goes in the transition of coaching just men's football after such a long tenure at the Crows and
Hmm.
their success, and just see if there's overlap between the women's and men's games. Because especially morale wise, I know he was definitely very good at bringing that and had such a
Yep.
tight group. It's going to see really cool what he can do at the base.
Yep. No, 100%
Mm.
cannot wait. So we'll go over to the other game, which was might have been one of the few stunners, but really wasn't a stunner to me. And I know some people are kind of looking at me, and I know a few of my Hawks supporters are kind of like, Coach, seriously? But this didn't surprise me. Again, as the Carlton Blues smashed the Hawks 79-33, a 46-point win. The Blues were playing better football. Again, the Hawks, they'd been dealing with some injuries. There was such inconsistency this year. This was not the Hawks of a couple of years ago where they put up points for fun. Anya McDonough has had her struggles at times, especially early in the season with no Aileen Gilroy. Aileen Gilroy's in. Teams have kind of figured out if you can keep Aileen from getting the footy, you can kind of shut down the Hawks forward line because then it becomes one wooded with Eileen get with Anya McDonough. So the Blues kind of did it, and they looked fantastic. I loved the way the Blues played at the end of the season. They definitely were the fourth best team. They deserved their spot in the preliminary final. And as I mentioned earlier, I said the kind of comparisons to Port Adelaide over the last few years is again another straight sets outage, probably when it's under, probably when, if you really look at it, the way they played this season, they should have got to a preliminary final. And again, the Hawks fall a little bit short. Again, I'm not trying to kick the Hawks. Again, I have many a very good Hawks fan. In fact, one of my favorite friends of the podcast is the Soaring to New Heights podcast, which is a specifically women's Hawks podcast. Love Liam and Tim to death. I feel for them. I wanted to give them a hug because I don't know what it was, but Carlton was just too good at just the right time.
Oh, it was just like even looking now back at the stoppages and the contests, the hitouts 37 compared to 14, 32 to 16 in the clearances, center clearances +5, and then stoppage clearances +11. So that's really where they got the job done, just getting it out and forward
Mhm.
for them. Because if you look at the disposals, kicks, it's relatively even, but it's how they got the ball out, how the double blues were really able to make a difference.
Double blues, and we got Sturt
Oh,
now. Don't worry
the
about it.
double blues,
I think we've
navy
all
blues.
done it. We've all done it at least once. We've all done it. Trust me. It's not. I just made me
I felt
chuckle a
like
little bit.
saying
The South
it.
Australian is coming out in you. There's nothing wrong with that.
Talking about the double blues, wasn't that a good season for them too?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was a fantastic season. Absolutely. So let's move on. We'll go to the preliminary final back to Icon Park again. Icon Park was absolutely the place to be when it comes to AFLW finals this year as the Kangaroos survive a huge scare by the D's by 10, 46-36. Unfortunately, this is probably should have been the grand final because you had your best possible performance against North for most of the season in this game by the D's. The D's looked magnificent. I know I had a couple of friends who were huge D supporters that they were starting to believe they had a chance to win this game come mid fourth quarter, but the Roos, again, the class and the abilities of the Kangaroos to be able to weather storms and get the job done. They did it again, on to another grand final and their chance to win back-to-back flags.
Well, that's a big motivating factor, and knowing they haven't been like they've won every single game for almost 2 seasons, it would be scary. And for Melbourne to go in as the underdogs, I mean, they're a quality outfit
Yep.
as well. And to really give them that scare, credit to them. But again, they are a great outfit. And if anyone was going to do it to the Kangaroos, it would have been Melbourne. But if they fell at that last hurdle, it would have been crushing. I
Mhm.
don't know. I just like seeing the best team. And even though, like you're saying, Melbourne are a phenomenal team, we know the best team all season has been the Roos.
Yep.
So if we didn't see them in a grand final, I would have been so disappointed because it's almost you feel like they've been robbed. But
It
that's
would have
football.
it would have made the grand final a little more interesting because you would not know who was going to win. I think that's
Yeah.
the one thing there was like it was part of me was like it would have been soul crushing for North because again they were the best team all season.
Oh,
There's no
100%.
argument. I mean, literally every pundit that you heard, literally, I don't think I heard anybody giving anybody a chance to win the premiership besides North. That was the honest to God truth.
Yeah.
And like I said, there was fear. There was genuine fear amongst the amongst the North faithful. Come that mid fourth quarter, and Melbourne was still leading, and the Melbourne faithful that I talked to again, they were drinking the Kool-Aid. They were really up and about, thinking that they had it. And North again just did enough what they needed to do. It was an incredible game of football. Melbourne have nothing to lower their heads at because that was the best crack at North Melbourne that they had from probably since around four or around six or eight when they had that little scare with I can't remember who it was, but somebody gave him another like I think it was Essendon. Somebody gave him a scare early in the year, and it lasted again like three quarters before North finally decided, yeah, no, this ain't happening. So no,
Nice
I
experience sides where they can literally mentally shift because it would be so hard just knowing you've won all these games. You almost probably forget how to lose.
yep.
So when it happens, you probably go into a massive panic of, oh my goodness, but they can just immediately flick. But that's what the really good sides do. They must have a
Yep.
really good club psychologist or something and sports psychologist because, yeah, that was incredible.
Well, it also helps when you have the class that they have. Jazzy
Oh,
Garner,
true.
Emma Carney, Elise Sharon, she didn't play in this game, but the class that they have, the experience. Kate Shearlor is there too. Ferguson. You have so many experienced players that have multiple seasons. So I think it's not even that they have a great sports psych, but it's even just the fact that they have the old heads that go, we're good. No need to panic. We know how good we are. We know how good we can be. We're fine. And then the younger talent around like the Erica O'Shea's, the Taylor Gatts, the Tess Gravens, the ones that they're younger, but they have that experience of playing 20,
Yeah.
30, 40, 50 games worth of AFLW. They don't panic. Like if you watch North Melbourne, no matter what the
Oh,
score is, there's no panic in this group. They are just I mean they are ice cold. Like I want to shake their hands to feel if they have ice water in their veins because that's what it feels like. And again, when you have an Emma Carney, when you have a Jazzy Garner, you know you have some of the best players in the competition on your side. You're good. And that you could tell that's exactly how they kind of felt like it. So it's a it's weird to be able to see it, but you could
yeah.
literally see when they went, we're good, we're fine. And you could just tell there was a calmness to North Melbourne. No matter what the score was, there was always this calmness of, we're going to get this done. It may take us a little bit longer than we intend, but we're going to get this done. And as per usual,
Credit to them.
they did it.
It's
Oh yeah, absolutely.
unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable callback.
And then let's move over to the other preliminary final where, as we kind of said, the consistency that is the Brisbane Lions, they do it again. The upstart Carlton Blues gave it a crack, but unfortunately the Brisbane Lions just too good. A 67-32 win for the Lions, a 35-point win by Coach Starcevich's side. Again, they're just so consistent. I mean, it's hard to argue you didn't get we didn't get the two best teams in the grand final. Brisbane, the perennial favorite, the perennial team that gets to grand finals and preliminary finals every season, and North, the dominant juggernaut that they are. I gotta tip the Blues a little bit. I gotta give them some love because
Absolutely.
they get to a preliminary final. Each year there's the up and comer that gets to the preliminary final. We had Geelong 3 years ago. We had Port last year, and then we have Carlton this year.
Yes.
Primarily because there has to be a fourth team. I mean, we can't just have three teams in the preliminary final. But each year, there's always that can they do it? Can the young upstart team throw a spanner in the works, shall we say? Again, it didn't happen in any of those 3 seasons, but you can tell that the competition is changing. It's not always the same 4 teams in the grand final like we had about a 3 year span there where it seemed like it was always Adelaide, Melbourne,
Yes.
Brisbane, North. I mean, that was what we almost always got. And then at that time, North would always get to a preliminary final and lose. So that's kind of how that is. So having that new team in, but again, Brisbane, I mean, just hat tip, Coach Darcevic, it's hard not to argue he isn't one of the best coaches that the W's ever seen. Again, only 10 seasons. I know it's still early,
No, but
but how do you
it's
argue that?
I don't think you can argue it because consistently taking a team to a grand final, it's not easy to make a grand final, but to make them year after year. And I love the fact it's like a grand final rematch and just
Yep.
all the theatre around both these teams going at it. So both like Melbourne, rather oh, North Melbourne and Brisbane going at it. It's like, yes, this is what we want, both the best teams. And hopefully, even though I just hope it doesn't leave the bottom of the table, the gap getting further and further. But I'm just hoping maybe with the draft and all that coming around and trades, try to level it out a little bit because the gap's
Mhm.
just starting to get a bit bigger. But that's going to
Well,
happen
the
expansion
only
side.
the only thing where I think that it may seem like it's going to get bigger, but here's the equalization that I brought this up and a few people have agreed with me. If you really look at it though, a majority of North Melbourne's best players are getting to their twilight years. Let's I have to be honest. Emma Carney only has so many years left. It will not shock me if she hangs up the boots here in the next few weeks. It will not
Well,
shock me a bit.
yeah, that was
I'd
the
love to
top.
see her continue to play because she's playing fantastic. Like she is aging like fine wine. She just gets better with age, and that's a completely full on compliment to Emma Carney.
Yeah,
But Emma Carney, Kate Sheila, several of their best players, they only have so many seasons left. The body can only take so much. Even Jazzy Garner, as young as she is, she's getting the years will start to wear on them.
yes.
North will eventually, when they lose some of these superstars, you're not going to get compensation. And if you continue to win, your draft picks are going to be towards the back.
Mm.
Now, will North Melbourne become the Geelong of the women's competition where they find a way to bring in the free agent? They always are there,
Yeah.
they're always around there. We will see because wouldn't shock me if a few of these retirements you get a little bit younger, you get a little less inexperienced, and then some of the results change. So as much as I 100% agree with you, like North is here and then everybody else is about 3 steps behind them. I think that equalization is going to come out because you're starting to see some young sides that are only going to hit their prime here in the next 3 years. Carlton's looking like they could be that. Port Adelaide,
Well,
Hawthorn, Sydney, I think is another one. If you look at their kind of their breakdown of their roster, they're young, they're talented, and they have drafted really well. I think in the next 3 seasons, you see teams like Melbourne, North Melbourne, Brisbane will kind of come back to the pack a little bit, and you'll see the Ports, the Hawthorns, the Sydneys,
yeah, and that only
even
comes with
Carlton,
time. Like
kind
you
of.
can't
Yep,
expect it day and night to
yep,
be instant because it's just not. And it's only in its infancy. Like 10 people don't realize it's only been 10 seasons. And
in
how fast
9 years, in 9 years too.
yeah,
That's even more the thing
we
that I
had
think
COVID
people
in
forget.
there. So,
Yep, that
that,
too.
that really has been quite crazy. And so, really, so much has happened in that time as well. Like it's expanded to a full competition. So, the recruitment from all, even the Sandful, the Waffle, the VFL, you gotta get those people up to speed. But now football, I remember like when I could start playing, I was in year 12 or in high school, but now people are starting from Auskick and all the way up where I could start Auskick but couldn't play for another 15 years
Hmm. Yeah.
until it actually became a normal thing. So it's going to be so exciting this next crop.
Yep.
to see what they can bring.
Oh yeah, and you're starting, like I said, you're starting to see these girls, as you said, they've had a footy in their hands since 5 or 6 years old. You're starting to see these young women come into the competition. So it's like, I know everybody, the detractors are going to be the detractors. I don't give them a lot of steam because if you really look at it, they don't want W to be successful. And there's more that I'd like to say, but I will save that for a little bit later in the episode. In fact, I've even told Eden a
Yes.
little bit about my rant that I do plan on doing a little bit later on in the show. But it's coming. The future is coming. We saw it this year with this year's draft class. We're going to see it in the next and the next and the next. I'm watching Waffle. I'm watching Sample. I'm watching the NAB League. I'm watching the VFL. There are some absolutely magnificent young women that are 16, 17, 18 years old that are going to be drafted in the next few years that I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, will make this competition
And
even
it's going to
better.
shock, it's going to be a shock for a lot of people who are veterans on the team
Yep.
because they probably think they've earned their place. But when they see the athleticism and just the innate ability for these young kids to use the
Hmm.
ball, when you're young, you can learn things. You can learn things when you're older too, but it's just quick and it becomes more natural.
Hmm.
So yeah, in 5 years, it's like that's when the league is really going to become like we just got to give it time.
100%. 100%. So let's wrap up this season. Unfortunately, again, I never want the season to end. Trust me, this is the episode. I absolutely, it is bittersweet because the footy is done. The footy, the playing footy is done for the year as North Melbourne, as we said, get their back-to-back premierships in dominant fashion as they beat the Lions 56-16. This is one of those, I hate saying it, but it's the first quarter was really the only competitive quarter because after the first quarter, North went, "Hey, Brisbane, we don't think so. You're not doing this to us." And
Yeah.
they went click to fourth gear. Brisbane could never get it off. I mean, the pressure was insane in this game. I absolutely love games where the tackle pressure is this good and the class and the cleanliness with footy in hand by North was
Oh, it's
evident and huge raps to Eileen Sharon for stepping in. She'd been battling injury. I know she had the hamstring injury. She was sensational in this grand final, her first ever grand final as she came over from Richmond this last year. But she looked like the North Melbourne style just absolutely enveloped her body and she just had a day out.
especially when
Loved it.
North, when it was tough in that first half, the first quarter especially, she really got down and worked hard. They all were working hard, but she stood out and kept North in it because at that stage, Brisbane, their pressure and their tackle pressure was like up at 200. They were up and about, and especially with Dawes up and about too, they really were there to give it to the Roos. So for a second, I thought, hang on a second, can the Lions do this? And the weird underdog kind of thing crept in where you kind of backing, do it, do it. But then it's also nice with the whole history back to back. But as we can probably talk about in the second quarter, a bit of a brain fade leading to a 100-meter penalty. That was probably the catalyst. I'm not going to put the full blame or anything, Campbell, but look, that's probably where things started to turn for Brisbane, where they just, yeah, I don't know if it was a lack of discipline or then from Melbourne really North Melbourne know how to run out a game and keep the pressure on, and you could tell Brisbane had their heads held down a bit and it deflated. It was really deflating a bit.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing because Campbell is such an experienced player, and for her to make that brain fade at the time that they did, and it really, I'm gonna say it, I think it really did. Like it took the air out of the Brisbane balloon. Like the heads dropped after the second 50 was called, the goal went through, and just all of the momentum that Brisbane had after a great start, it just all was right out of the air like a balloon, and it just really they could never reinflate it. because North kind of viced them a little bit, almost like an anaconda. They just kept
Yeah.
constricting and constricting, and Brisbane just could never get the energy back into it. I mean, Jade Ellinger was relatively quiet in this game. You can tell North really did a good job on her because she was fantastic this year. Allie Anderson again. Well, when you're going up against the best and fairest in Ash Riddell, who was absolutely incredible. Again, Emma Carney again was her usual magnificent self. I mean, North just when they needed somebody to step up, they did it. Brisbane just seemed like Isabel Dawes was really about it after that. I mean, underperform. And again, I'm not going to get on Dakota Davison or Jennifer Smith, the forward Smith. I don't know why I'm having a brain fade at this worst possible time. I'm not going to blame the forwards. I mean, Chelsea Hotta even had to get moved into the midfield just to get her around the footy, which is incredibly a disservice to the rest of the competition to not see that little ripper get around the football because she is an excitement machine with her ability with footy in hand, but her tackle pressure is absolutely fantastic. Love Chelsea Hotta to death. Just Brisbane just could not get it going. Again, I was disappointed in Campbell because she's such an experienced player, and for her to have that brain fade and the 100-meter penalty, just it absolutely deflated Brisbane from there.
I think at that
And
time it was the smallest margin or something of the
yep, it
game. It
was
was
it
only
was
four
yeah, it was
points.
within a goal. It was within a goal
Yeah,
when it
it was
happened.
only 4 points,
Yep.
and it was three scoring shots each. But then I guess as well, coming from that, just how clean North Melbourne were.
Yep.
They were so accurate that they had no chance. If they were going to keep kicking like that, and they did try to open up the ground, but it was almost too late, too little too late. Because when you're piling on 9 goals straight and you've had one goal, three, look, it's your confidence is probably already a bit down.
Hmm.
Um, and again, that's where the mentality of these sides, but and they are veterans, the Brisbane side as well. It's almost hard to fathom how it got so big in terms
Hmm.
of the
Yep.
margin. I don't know how they weren't able to give more of a contest.
Yeah, well, I again the structure of North Melbourne this year was insane. Again, their ability behind the football to just like I said, they're like an anaconda. They just continue to constrict you until there's nothing much that you can do, and
Mm.
they always make you pay for it. No, 100% with you. I felt horrible. I felt horrible for the Brisbane girls because they were trying. They really, really were. It's just North were just that good. They were just so well structured around the football. They made all the right decisions when they needed to. It was again,
And
I
they were so clean. They would
yep,
hit like their targets. They would lace out a player in the
yep,
pocket. Davidson did that so well, and it was just like that's was just it's so simple, but it's also very difficult in those high pressure moments to go
hmm,
one on one and to take those clean marks. But they were able to take those marks, those intercept marks as well, even when it was those tough one on ones. But they were just playing with so much confidence. The
yep.
Roos.
Yeah, they were up and about. They were up and about for sure. Well, Eden, that is it. That is AFLW season. We'll wrap it up with a tiny bow, but I never want to just end after that. I want to do a small season review. I'm interested on your take again as somebody that loves this competition to death. Let's start off again. The night of nights, especially for it, and we have the best and fairest, and we have a North Melbourne Kangaroo winning it, probably not the one everybody really wants. Again, no offense to Ash Riddell. Again, Ash Riddell gets the win in the best and fairest. Again, all plaudits to her. I mean, how many times did she break her own disposal record in a season? Again,
And didn't get
43
votes for that
disposals.
though. She
Well,
didn't get votes in those games.
and
So
that's the insane part that everybody's talking about. But I'm one of those. And maybe it's just me. Sometimes huge disposal games don't always mean that you're making a huge impact. It just means you're getting the footy a lot. Like I'm gonna say this, and again, I never mean it to be dissing, but there were a few games for Mitchell at Hawthorn where he would get 43, and I would do my team of the week that I do during the regular season, and he'd only have 110 meters gained. So he'd have a lot of
yeah.
handballs that were neutral or went backwards. So just because you get 43 doesn't always mean that you've had a great game. It just means you've gotten the ball a lot. The question is what you do with it. Like there are times I think Jasmine Garner sometimes gets punished because she only has 20. But if you look at her impact, her clearances, she'll get 6 clearances and she'll kick a goal. Ash Riddell is not the midfielder that's going to kick the goals. It's usually Jazz Garner. But
Mm,
again, it's like Jazz Garner has like the invisibility quote from Harry Potter because for some weird reason she just never gets votes. And I feel kind of horrible for her. And but again, Ash Riddell, she was incredible this year,
yeah. And then that's
legitimately.
where it becomes nice when the MVP to have
Yeah.
Ghana recognized in that. So it's it can be bittersweet for her, but it's nice that both of them got to have their moment. And also most valuable player. It's like, how nice is that to be awarded? Like just
Mhm.
to have that respect from the cohort and just I don't know. I know
Yep.
best and fairest is like the top gong, but respect wise, I think that tells a lot.
Yeah, and even the coaches award too. I know sometimes the coaches award. Sometimes I think I put almost a little bit more into it than the Brown than the best and fairest or even the Brownlow because the coaches they know the game. They're watching the game. They have to keep track of both sides. So if you win the coaches award, sometimes that is magnificent as well. So I never like doing this, but I like kind of going over the season just the tiniest bit. So I want you to tell me about this. We've been through the entire season again. Was it everything that we wanted? No, we only had 12 rounds. I think most AFLW people they want 15, 16, 17. So every
Yeah,
team can play everybody. What was your
makes
biggest
sense, wouldn't it?
disappoint What was your biggest disappointment this year in the AFLW?
Probably a couple of things, starting and it all kind of centers around the same thing is there's still not equal opportunity. It's there's not the same amount of games, and I'm not saying we need to do exactly model the exact same. Let's not compare the two, the men's and the women's.
Agree.
They're very different leagues. One's been going for hundreds of years, and this one's 10 seasons in. So
Yep.
let's just, grow it because people do care about it. And to have the fact of how inclusive it is and how many family and it to really honor all those amazing things that football should honor, I find so
Hmm.
beautiful. So, firstly, the whole only 12 games a season, you could come up against some of the, best talent and you will just miss out on finals. And that will be it for your season. And then you have to wait another year before you can really get to go again because it's only a few months, really. Um, but also the negativity online. I don't know if it's keyboard warriors or if it's just trolls, but it gets to me seeing how people still in this day and age, even though it should have never been a day and age kind of thing, just
Hmm.
discrediting women's football and women's football in general. It's so gross. And it's really upsetting. I thought maybe after a few more years, considering especially in Adelaide, poor and the success of Crows, maybe we would have been more uplifting of it because we've seen that success. But people in the comments, it's it's appalling. It is
Hmm.
quite confronting, and it's like how can we move forward if this is still and to generalize, it's usually men, younger men who just like on their phones, quickly typing or that, oh, women's football sucks. Women, it's only for men. And it's actually funny. Like, I have picked up on someone where they're like, oh, women are smaller. And I'm like, well, yes, in a way, yes, you're correct. Oh, well, why are they playing with the same size ball? Don't talk about something that you clearly don't know about
Hmm.
because they don't play with the same size ball.
Yep.
Before you start, chatting away and spreading your little fake news to other people and making them
Hmm.
believe that, so people need to just educate yourself. Go to an AFLW game and just put yourself in it. It's bloody fun.
I will say this, Eden. When it comes to it, social media can be a fantastic thing
Mm.
aka how you and I met. And it can be one of the worst things in the world because you get some, and I'm going to be very honest here, some piss poor loser that
Yep.
just thinks that somebody gives a crap about his opinion, and he just decides to spew not only his ignorance, as we can tell by that, but just there's a misogyny a little bit to it. And
Oh,
let's
not a
just
little bit.
and it's
Absolutely.
I'm going to give some people the benefit of the doubt because I don't think they realize how misogynistic they are as they say that, because I think they just think that because they're a man that their opinion is valid. And I'm going to say I call them the knuckle draggers because they're still the Neanderthals of the world, because they don't have to be held accountable because they can just go the anonymity of the internet. Because
Mm.
I've said numerous times, if you think so proudly of your opinion, have the balls to go up and walk up to an AFLW player and say it to their face. I dare you. I really do. Because I don't think you actually have the courage to do it. The only reason you're saying it is because you can hide behind a TV,
And
an internet screen.
if someone came at them online and gave a maybe different perspective, that person would then get not the person who's supporting the women's football would then get attacked by tens of people. So that's usually why you probably don't see people having that open discussion, is because
Yep.
immediately it's like, no, no, get back in the kitchen,
Hmm.
or they
Yep.
should just, and it's genuinely like that. It's the comments
Yep.
or on women's sizes, and it's just like body shapes. No,
Yep.
no.
No, 100% with you. It's one of the reasons I love following Kate McCarthy.
I love,
Absolutely, because
love
she literally takes the piss out of some people, and I absolutely love her to
her.
death. She's one of my favorites. I've there's so many comments when it comes to it of people like, why is she commenting men's football? She doesn't legitimately. Kate McCarthy is such an incredible football mind. It is insane how smart she is. It is
Because women
insane how
can be
well.
really good at football and have good
Oh yeah.
football senses.
I mean, when you have when you really haven't coached and you're on people's mind and you're on some people's tongues about talking about becoming a head coach of the AFLW, that shows you the reverence that she's seen at in many AFLW circles. Daisy Pierce didn't get on Channel 7 because she was a woman. She got on Channel 7 because she knows the game
Mhm.
of football better than many people on this planet. There's no
Yeah.
argument of it. What she's done at West Coast proves that, because she's taken a club that never had a winning season and got them to their
Oh,
finals in her second year. She's already the most winningest West Coast coach. I love when you see the feisty women online. There are several that I know. There's several that I know, and I love them to death. I follow them. I like their stuff.
yep.
I don't feed into the trolls personally. I try not to, because that's what they want. They want the attention, so then their stuff gets seen by more people. I give attention to people like yourself, Eden, that are positive, that are out here trying to do best for women's football, because
Mhm.
that's what needs to be supported, not these knuckle dragging Neanderthals that really they don't care, because they're a man.
Mhm.
They have their opinions. They're not going to change. I'm not looking at people. I'm looking at the guy that the girl dads that those are the ones. If you can get them on board to where they're inspiring their daughters to play this amazing sport, you're going to get the next generation of footy players. The 4 and 5 year old girl dads. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at these Neanderthal
A little
35-year-old
bit
year old men that are just on their
different.
phone because they're bored and have no life. Like, let's just be
Yes.
honest. Okay. So,
And I even think about just a bit of a side note, a little bit similar but different train of thought, is the draft that went by with the AFL draft, and seeing the next crop of men and how they were more emotional, and
mhm,
just seeing that this next
100%. Yes.
generation, and I'm just hoping this could be maybe the change that's just the younger the younger group. I'm not saying all of the older generation are the same. There's trends, and unfortunately, it's also younger people and on their keyboards. It's a whole range. But to see them be emotional and openly and not hide it was my favorite part of the AFL draft.
Yep, 100%. I'm 100% with you. So if you don't mind, Eden, can I do my disappointment? Because again,
Go
everybody
for
knows I'm gonna grab my soapbox, I'm gonna tuck it underneath my feet, and I'm gonna go off again. AFL House again has disappointed me because again, you prove every year that you, and pardon my French here, Eden, so let me go, okay?
I'll
They
let
don't
you
give a
go.
shit about the AFLW. Let's just be very, very honest. I have seen this argument. I completely agree with it. The AFLW for the AFL House is a PR move. Let's just be honest. Because again, we've seen it again this year. Shit times, shit locations, and an inability to actually try to make the competition grow. Let's just
No,
be
it's
honest.
almost setting it up for failure to be like, see, they're not making money.
Exactly. I love you, Sonia Hood. I think what you've done in North Melbourne is fantastic, but you are not helping with the ignorance of saying that we can't do it at Marvel Stadium because we can't have it half filled. All due respect, hey Sonia, your men's team can barely get half a Marvel Stadium. So your argument that your incredible women's team that has sold out three consecutive Icon Park Grand Finals, okay, three consecutive. Come on. If you don't want to grow, why are we having the competition? The competition cannot grow if you will not let it, okay? A
Mhm.
child will never grow out of a t-shirt if the t-shirt is never taken off. We have to take the t-shirt off and let them grow into something bigger. Marvel Stadium is owned by AFL. You can play the grand final at Docklands, at Marvel, whatever the heck you're going to call it nowadays. Come on. But they're not going to do that because then that shows that they actually want this competition to grow. I'm sorry, the metrics are bullshit when you're playing games at 5 o'clock in the afternoon in downtown Melbourne. You can't do it. And if you're going to play them at Prince
See,
at
it's not success. It's not, it's losing money. People not
well,
going to it.
and you're only getting 2,000 people. Well, when you're playing it at Punt Road at 4:30 in the
On a
afternoon on a
school night.
Thursday, I
Or,
mean, come on. Like pull your heads in AFLW, AFL House. Come on. Like it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize, and I get it, okay? The scheduling conflicts, they're gonna happen. I get it. But when you've got a chance to play Thursday night footy because the men's season is done, you could play Thursday night football and get a primetime game and get an Adelaide versus a Melbourne in round nine on a primetime game in Thursday evening and you play it at 4 in the afternoon. Like it just doesn't make any sense. It just
no, it
every
doesn't.
single time AFL House has the opportunity to help this competition grow, and it is growing. And that's the thing that's even more frustrating. It is growing because it's one of the few places in Australia where it can grow because the women are playing more football. You have more women's teams in all of these country footy leagues. The women's competitions are the ones that are growing because the men's competition, they
Well,
just
I'll
can't
tell you
grow
what,
anymore.
I'm sorry to interrupt,
Please
but
go
even
ahead.
the CEO is pronouncing women's players' last names wrong, for me, at, the best and fairest,
Yep.
that is telling me everything I need to know about
Exactly.
the lack of how much you're watching, how to pronounce these amazing players who have been playing in this incredible league for 10 seasons,
Hmm.
and you're just, how, and how embarrassing for the player.
Hmm.
Like to
Yep.
have your name, you go up to
Butchered.
accept an award.
Absolutely butchered.
The amount of time I was like, come on, Andrew Dillon, just at least no, that it was actually, I'm glad he did it in a way. So then it's all laid bare.
Yeah,
But
but unfortunately, there's still too many people that are never going to accept that, and I think that's the most frustrating part for me is that again, I have watched this competition grow again. I will 100% raise my hand. Was I paying attention from round one, from season one to season six? No, I wasn't. Purely on the fact that I didn't know that AFLW was on the Watch AFL app. I will raise my hand 100% on that. I am not at fault. I'm not at fault for something that, again, They didn't promote it. They don't talk about it. Now that I've got, like I said, I started watching the Swans come in, which really helps too because I'm more invested in it. I know it's a little weird, but
It's funny.
I couldn't take another team. I can't, and it's nothing against it. But now that the Swans are in it, I'm full bore into the AFLW. Again, I think the women go harder at the women go harder at the footy. The women also have a harder job. Like let's just be honest, 16 women instead of 18. I think that should be switched. I think the men should be playing 16. I think the women should be playing 18, personally. I think it would take away the grounds are too big. We got to play them at smaller grounds. Well, when you have 16 players assigned, you have four less people on the field. Yes, the ground's going to look really big. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, North Sydney Oval is really the only one that really was almost too small for when it comes to it, and it really wasn't too small at all. I preferably I love North Sydney Oval. I think it encourages scoring and it encourages the game to be fast and exciting because it's easy to go from end to end. So again,
No, I'm not happy with Norwood Oval. I'm like, that one's just got no wings. It's straight down the guts.
it's yeah, it's like a straight line. So and the other thing I deathly terrified is the concrete is the brick wall less than 5 feet away from the boundary is terrifying. If I were one of the players trying to go full speed for a lead on the wing, but no.
I
So
like to see it.
yeah, but
Not
my
the aftermath.
yeah, but my disappointment again is AFL House because again, you just every year you just prove that AFLW is nothing but a PR campaign for us to look. We need to look we need to look okay for all of the diversity. We're only it's become a clown show. It
And
really
when they
has
use
become a clown show.
AFLW to do all their diversity,
Yep.
do it in the men's too. Like I could imagine the women's, they must be tired of having to always like it should they're doing amazing things,
Hmm.
but everyone relies on the women to speak out when, say, something homophobic happens because there's people who have come out and identified in that community, the LGBTQI plus community. But we're in the men's league, they can do that too. You know, it's not just up to the women's to fight for rights, but I feel like we're pitted against it. That
Hmm.
we have to fight for our own place, but also then fight for, which is like, it's a very inclusive league, and that's the
Hmm.
beauty
Yep.
of it. But I'm just like, sometimes it would be tiring having to go through the criticism and them having to fight for it each
Yeah.
time.
No, it's the women are in 2025, the men are still stuck in 1950. Like I hate saying it, but it very much is. There's still so much allowance of some of this reprehensible behavior. So no, I'm 100% with it. But again, my biggest disappointment again, AFL House, because another magnificent season, another season where we're seeing growth in the league. I know some people will say, well, look at the separation of the top and bottom. Honestly, if it weren't for North Melbourne being in the competition, I think this would have been the most competitive year ever because so many teams, I mean, Richmond beat Adelaide this year. That, I mean, it happens in the men's, but it's not as impressive in the men's because there isn't that huge gap usually between the best and the worst. So for Richmond to have the season that they had and for them to knock off Adelaide, who made finals. All right, so the fun of technology sometimes when it comes to interviews, I won't throw anybody under the bus. Just kidding. I'm gonna have some fun with this.
Left the chat.
It is happened. I know, right? It's like somebody decided she wanted to take her ball and go home. No, I'm absolutely kidding with my co-host here. Have a little fun. So I'm not going to go anymore on the negative side. I just don't want to because it's not worth it. I want to support these women. I want to support this competition. I don't want to get on the negative because if I would be here for days if I wanted to go through all of my grievances that I've had with AFL House this particular year when it comes to AFLW. So all right, Eden, let's jump to the positive side. We've got the negative out of the way. Let's jump to the positive. What was your biggest surprise this year in the AFLW?
I feel like this is a hard question because even though we try to keep continuing to grow the game, it's kind of what's like expected. So when I think because it was a ten round game, so they increased it by two more. So it's like, okay, that's, you know, you take the small wins. But can I say I feel like this matches up well with Game of the Year, which we will talk about later. My biggest surprise, um, but also what I knew was coming, was the AFLW showdown, where Port won their first showdown. It was a long time coming. It was a really good game. And I'd say it was a surprise because Port went in and everyone kind of wrote them off. No one expected them to win, but you can't, you can never, especially in the showdown, no matter what, if it's in the men's competition, you can't rule any side out of it. It was so good to just think about the how everyone got into it and the crowd. For me, it was a surprise to see how much everyone got into the atmosphere of the game. It's not that I was expecting it to be not as grand, but there was all the fury, there was all the drama, and the crowd was louder and more involved than when you go to a packed Adelaide Oval. And yes, that's a big call to make, but I was really surprised, and it made me so excited to see the game is growing,
Hmm.
and it does deserve a place. People do like it.
Hmm. 100%. It was an incredible showdown. I thought it was fantastic. I love rivalries when both teams are competitive. I love rivalries when you never know who's going to win. And unfortunately, the first few years of it, we kind of knew Adelaide was
Yeah,
probably going to
yeah,
win the game. So now having some intrigue in a showdown, which is already an elite rivalry, makes it even better. So I'm 100% with you. I'm gonna answer this as biggest surprise, but personally, this was not a big surprise. And that was the emergence of this draft class. I cannot not say it. I've been watching some of these young women for over 2 years with my ability to watch the Sandful W, the Waffle W, the VFLW, and the NAB League. I knew there were some absolute rippers in this year's draft class. I did. But to see them bring the entire competition in and show them how good they are. Ash Sentra, Zippy Fish, Molly O'Hare, so many amazing ones. India Rashid. Don't want to leave out the South Australian. I have enjoyed these young women for several years, watching them, seeing them grow, seeing them get better as footballers, and for them to step into the W this year and to continue that growth and to continue to show how good they really are. For some people, it was a surprise. It was not for me.
yeah.
It did not shock me one single bit that this ripping class of young footballers showed why, as we've kind of said on the episode, and I've said numerous times, the growth is coming, and it is
Yeah.
coming with an absolute tear. I mean, this next year's class is just as good.
And
They're
I
going to
love the
be
sisters
so
coming
much
in as
fun.
well,
Yep.
like Poppy Shoals and seeing all these, because then it makes the rivalries like it gives it.
Well, think about this. That now you're going to have four Davies sisters that have all played AFLW. With Georgia, their fourth will be coming into the competition
Yeah.
this year. You've got the Hamilton sisters at Sydney. You've got the McKay sisters at Carleton. You've got the Scholes sisters. Uh, so many
Yes.
incredible young women that this competition is in very good hands for the youth and the ability. So, like I
Yes.
said,
Yeah.
I will say biggest surprise, but personally, this was not. As somebody that's been watching some of these young women for 2 years now in the in the state competitions and in the NAB league, I knew they had a chance. Was I expecting this much impact? That I will say was my surprise because I knew some of them would make an impact. How many would make an impact and
Yeah.
how good of an impact they did, that was where I think really goes for that. So for me, this year's draft class and its impact, I mean, when Emma Bastiani, who does not throw out compliments lightly, calls this a super draft, that tells you how good some of these young women
And just wait
really
next year as
are.
well when they get a year under, they've had that year under their belt and
Absolutely.
they're already so good. And I tell you, when Centra came in and did that bounce through the legs and how that puts her on that. And I'm just like, how good to see like a little moment like that then really take off around the nation.
Mhm.
And then being like, yes, they're talented. They know they've because they've grown up with the ball. They know, it's
Mhm.
that's only natural. People are just going to get better when they grow up with it. And the draft classes, like you can just hope and imagine, of course, they're just going to keep getting better.
Yep. Yep. No, 100% with you. The fact that it went viral and that you're even seeing like Nick Dacos trying it and
Yeah.
all the so many videos of some of the men's
And then
players
failing.
trying.
It's
Yep.
funny.
Yeah. No, 100%. Absolutely thought that was magnificent. So as I love doing, we got to talk game of the year. What was the one game from this season that you plan on going back and watching again, Eden? I'm fascinated on this. Several really good games, some fantastic ones. Which one do you think tops them all?
Like I've said, I can't put it past that showdown. And to be able to commentate it and be on the boundary for it was magical. Um, I haven't actually had that moment to watch it back because I kind of was in the moment and
Hmm.
experiencing it. So that will be one to like go back and watch because, like I said, the atmosphere, the vibe, and just also how well Port played. They just missed out on finals, which is disappointing. But you can tell there's something in that young side and they're ticking along very, very nice. I just think, and yes, I am from Adelaide, so I feel like, of course, the showdowns are like our biggest rivalries in the AFL out of every other teams. But it was just very different, obviously, to the years before, because now we've got a real competition on our hands for years to come. And you could see how much it meant to all the players out there. And um, Justine Mills Robinson, how she went up to all the Crows players and shook their hands, gave them hugs, and acknowledged them. I'm like, it was a celebration of women's football for me, than more than just like rivalry and hatred. It's how good that this league has come up and that we've got a showdown now. And you could just see the enjoyment of them being able to play in what they would be sitting in Adelaide Oval watching as a child. Now they can be actually a part of it at a packed Nord Oval.
Mhm. No, 100% with you.
Mm.
Again, an incredible game. For me, maybe it's a little bit of the recency bias, but I have to say the preliminary final between Melbourne and North Melbourne. The one time this year that there really, I think, was genuine fear on North Melbourne's side of potentially falling short.
Yeah,
And the elation of the D supporters as he got to the fourth quarter, they had the lead, they were still playing well.
that's
And for
cruel.
North to rip it again, they found a way to get it done. I cannot go by it again. One of the games of the round again. I wanted to see North pushed. Didn't get it as much in the grand final as I think it probably should have been. So for the ability for the D's to do that again, could this another one of those times, even like the men's competition a little bit, sometimes your best game is probably one of those preliminary finals. And we were given that in this particular year with North Melbourne getting the 10-point win
Mhm.
uh, over the D's. I mean, yeah, there were some incredible games that I was going through. I know Melbourne versus Adelaide, Melbourne versus Brisbane this year were some of the better games of the season.
Yes.
You had some absolute crackers, just so many. But
Yep.
for me, that one tops them all. So I don't, I hate this time of the year again because the season is over. There's no more live footy now till March, unfortunately.
Oh,
So let's
itchy
let's
feet.
let's grab our crystal ball here, Eden. What are you looking
Yes.
forward to next year in the W season?
I am looking forward to commentating more. I am looking forward to building the women's league up and for it to be more recognized by because it's just going to continue to happen and because it needs to happen. And I think that's the most exciting thing. If I can also bring myself and hopefully there's more games and everything, so I can keep commentating and see just how the league is flourishing from looking back at what it used to be. Even the AFLW only the four sides, and now it's really starting to establish itself. The young girls coming in and really making an impact. But I'm just excited I can have my own little impact on the game and put my because obviously I keep getting injured when I play football, so I feel like I'm getting my football fix when I'm in it. So if I commentate more games and really get involved, that's where I'm like I'm really looking forward to that because I feel like next year is going to be like the breakthrough, and it better be because I don't want to hear from AFL House because there's no excuses. There's really no excuses anymore.
100% with you. So for me, looking forward to is another year progression,
Mm-hmm.
it's another off season where I'm fascinated how some of the moves go. Again, like I said,
Oh yes.
we've already seen some silly season stuff with players requesting trades. I've already talked with my draft expert. What Gold Coast is going to have to do this year to try to get all of their academy girls is going to be something I'm very intrigued about come trade period because they have four, if not five players that could all be top 15 picks. So they're going to have to really wine and dine. I will not be surprised if they unload a Lucy Single, a Charlie Rowbottom. They may have to be able to
Wow.
get the
Yeah.
first round picks they are going to need to match Ava Usher, Sonny Lappin, and so many of their Georgia Davies, so many really
Oh.
talented young women on that Gold Coast Academy side that again I'm fascinated. Again, this trade period could be absolutely insane. I always look forward to it. But just another year of progression, another young class of youngsters
Mhm.
coming in that all are going to have played football since they were 5 or 6 years old instead of some of these women that had to stop at 12 years old because Kick wouldn't let them play past it. So, as I do every year, I look forward to the progression of this league, the kind of up yours to AFL House showing why they're still really good despite the adversity that they're constantly having to face, not only in society, but also even in the competition in itself. So I look forward every
Mhm.
year to seeing them kind of up yours to to
Yeah.
those at the top of the chain of command, shall we say. So all
Yes.
right, Eden, we've fought through all of this. We are through it again.
Thank you.
I hate this sign off because it means no more football for a while. But the good thing is I have my off-season supporters series. I cannot wait. I have 17 as at this point, hoping to have 18 footy mad female fans that I'm going to talk with to find out about their stories, about why they love this game of football, why they love the club they do, and their experience as a fan when it comes to it on the female side and some of the things that they want to discuss. I want to hear their stories. I cannot wait. I've had the luxury, as I'm recording now, of already recording my first one, and it was an incredible story of a young woman originally from New South Wales, now living in the Gold Coast, who is a fan of the Gold Coast Suns, which it's hard to find Suns fans. So to
Mhm.
find her, and she has an incredible story. I loved hearing it. Cannot wait to talk more. I have some magnificent fans that I know very well that I cannot wait to sit down and have a chat with. So it is something to look forward to. Eden, again, I hope you have a wonderful off season. I hope everything goes well for you. Cannot wait to hear your calls next year for Sandful Now and hopefully some Wharf Radio for some AFLW next year. I cannot wait. So best of off season and cannot wait to see you again next year.
Thank you so much. And it's always a pleasure to be on here. Yes, we fought a couple technical issues, but we got there in the end. But it's honestly the best to come onto your platform and just, have that break where you can just speak everything about football, which you don't always get. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, just the best place to be able to just talk footy and just enjoy it for sure. So, ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen, that is going to do it for an episode for this episode of Donnie's Disposals. Again, unfortunately, we say adieu to the 2025 season, both for the men's and the women's. Again, off-season supporter series. We will get footy all the way up until the AFL men's in 2026. Cannot wait. So that'll do it for another episode of Donnie's Disposals. We'll be back with more footy coverage very, very soon.